Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Creative Adventures. I am super excited today because I recently got in a whole bunch of supplies for soaping. I got in a lot of new fragrances and colors. I still have one more package on the way, but I've got things from pineapple cilantro to an oatmeal goat's milk honey recipe that I'm going to be doing soon. I've also got the supplies coming in for the newest recipe that was posted on the Brambleberry site and Soap Queen's blog, which is that activated charcoal tea tree oil facial bar. I'm really excited to try that one. I also got in a fragrance called Fresh Cut Grass, and I've heard a lot of good things about this fragrance, but I wasn't really sure what I was gonna think about it. It might be my favorite fragrance that I have smelled so far, and I really can't wait to see what it smells like in a bar of soap. I just imagine that's going to be really, really nice in the shower. Anyway, the fragrance that we're doing today is called Cranberry Fizz, and I got this from Wholesale Supplies Plus. It is a fragrance oil, and it smells really, really refreshing, kind of like a cranberry cocktail that's maybe got champagne or something in it. It does smell very fizzy, like some kind of a carbonated drink with cranberry in it. I really like this scent a lot. I can't wait to see how it holds up in cold process soap. The color that we're going to be using today, look how pretty that is. It's Plumberry Pink Mica Powder. This is also from Wholesale Supplies Plus. And I think I'm going to try to do an in the pot swirl today. I have not ventured into swirling my soaps yet, other than just doing a mica swirl on the top of my soap. I've not tried mixing colors in the middle, so I think I've got enough batches under my belt that it's time to try that. So rather than using 3 different colors, I'm going to try to tint 2 of my portions of soap with this pink, but tint one with a little bit of white as well, a little titanium dioxide, so it's a little bit lighter. So white will be our base. We'll have kind of a lighter shade of this, I'm hoping, and then also a darker shade of this, and we'll do an in the pot swirl. And today we're gonna be using my 10-inch silicone mold that I got from Brambleberry. I'm pretty excited about that activated charcoal recipe that I have coming in, because with it I bought the 9-bar mold as well. So I'm excited to have another mold in my arsenal, because I don't like being able to only do like one small batch at a time. I want to make them all this weekend, and I just can't because I've only got this mold. So now I already have my lye water mixed up, and I've already got my oils measured out. If you want to watch a video of me making soap from start to finish, including how I weigh out all of my ingredients and mix my lye and all of that good stuff, I will link my very first soaping video up here at the top, and you can follow along start to finish. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, we're just about ready to get soaping, but I'm still waiting on my oils to cool down a little bit. My lye is just about where I need it to be. So I want to talk a little bit about the recipe I'm using today. This is a different recipe from all of the ones I've done before. Like I said earlier, this is the first time I'm doing a swirled soap. I wanted to find a recipe that would stay fluid enough to do an in the pot swirl and not accelerate trace on me too quickly. So the first thing I looked at was what kind of oils are best for a recipe like that. Common sense tells you that using more soft oils, which are liquid oils like olive oil, avocado oil, etc., will make your recipe stay fluid longer. However, using a large percentage of soft oils or liquid oils will make your bar softer in the end, in most cases. One way to combat that is use a lot of olive oil, because olive oil will actually get very, very hard as it cures. It will come out of your mold a little bit softer, but it gets very hard as it cures. Also, sodium lactate, which is basically a salt, and I've used this in every recipe I've made so far, so that shouldn't be a surprise to you, but this actually helps your bar get harder as well. The second thing you want to look at is your fragrance oil, and look up reviews on your fragrance oil and make sure that people that have tried it don't report it accelerating trace. You want to make sure it's a fragrance oil that works well in cold process soap and it's not going to accelerate too bad on you. Everything I read about the Cranberry Fizz that I'm using today says it works beautifully in cold process soap, and they didn't have a problem with it accelerating trace. For the recipe I'm using today, it's about 60% liquid or soft oils. So we're using 40% olive oil, 34% coconut oil, 6% avocado oil, 15% rice bran oil, and then 6% shea butter. And I will post this recipe on my blog and link that down below for you. Now, since I am using some beautiful colors here, one of those of which will be white, you also want to make sure your fragrance oil is not going to discolor. Anything with vanillin in it is likely to discolor your soap. Believe it or not, Cranberry Fizz actually does have a little bit of vanillin in it. It's only 2% though. You start seeing like really bad discoloration at about 10% vanillin. So 2% is probably going to turn my white a little bit cream. I'm going to try to counteract that by adding vanilla color stabilizer. I also got this from Wholesale Supplies Plus. I did use that in my wine soap that I made in the last soaping video, and it still did discolor, but that chocolate fragrance that I was using had a ton of vanillin in it, so I'm really not that surprised. But I'm hoping with the low vanillin content of this Cranberry Fizz, coupled with this stabilizer, I won't see a whole lot of discoloration. We shall see. So for my colors here, I've got, this is just titanium dioxide. For my white, this is a half a teaspoon of this plumberry pink mica. And what I will probably do with this is also mix it with a little bit of titanium dioxide to kind of make it a lighter pink. And then this is a full teaspoon of the plumberry pink. I may tweak those a little bit as we go. I'm not sure yet. I'm just gonna play it by ear and see how my colors turn out. This is my fragrance oil that I've already measured out, and my vanilla color stabilizer. I'm using a ratio of 2 parts fragrance to 1 part stabilizer for this. The particular stabilizer that I am using recommends that ratio unless your vanillin is at 10% or higher, and then it recommends a 1-to-1 ratio. As per usual, the sodium lactate usage is 1 teaspoon per pound of oils in your soap. My 10-inch loaf mold over here holds about 2 pounds of oils, so I'll be using 2 teaspoons of this, and that will go right into my lye water. So let's check our temp and see where we're at. We're getting there. My oils are at 119, my lye is at 100. Another thing, I'm going to be soaping a little bit cooler this time than normal. My first couple of batches I actually did at about 120 degrees. Everything I've been reading says the warmer your temps are, the more quickly you will reach trace, which seems completely backwards to me, but I'm seeing the same information everywhere. So if you want to keep your trace from accelerating too much, soap at slightly cooler temperatures between 85 and 95 degrees is what I've read is optimal. I'm gonna shoot for 100 with my oils. My lye will definitely be cooler than that by the time my oils get to 100. So we got about 15 degrees to go, so we will be back momentarily. All right, we're just about at the right temps for mixing. So my oils right now are about 101, which is, I was looking for 100, and then my lye water is at 96, so that's perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my goggles on first, and I've already got my gloves on. So I'm gonna mix in 2 teaspoons of my sodium lactate. Mix that right into my lye water. All right. My oils, got my stick blender. Now once I start mixing this, I'm only gonna look for emulsification. And once I get to that point, I'm going to split my batch into separate containers so I can color them separately. I'm going to probably just cut right to the emulsified oils because I know the stick blender is pretty loud on camera. So we pour our lye water right in. And pour it slow so we don't get as few bubbles as you can. And I should have mentioned earlier, but I am super fatting this recipe at 6%. All right, here we go. All right, that is nice and emulsified. No trace whatsoever, which I don't want at this point because I want to be able to swirl these really nicely. I'm going to separate this one batch into 3. And I don't need much of my colors. I'm not really trying to go for equal parts. I actually kind of want my base color, my white, to have a little more than my pinks. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add all of my titanium dioxide to this first batch. That's a nice color. Give that a little whiz with the blender. Okay. Now you can see that's a nice white soap. It's the first time I have used titanium dioxide. Okay, so for this batch, I'm going to use my small amount of pink, which is my ½ teaspoon. And then for this batch, I'm going to use the whole teaspoon. And I'm going to go ahead and give these a blend and see what I think about the color. Okay, so they're different. One is definitely lighter than the other, but they're not as different as I would like them to be. So I'm going to add a little bit of titanium dioxide to this one. And I'm making a bigger mess, as usual, because I don't think I know how to do anything but make messes. I'm going to have to take my glove off for this. Should have left my package open. And I am not going to try to disperse this first. I'm just going to add it right in and hope that that wasn't too much. Put my glove back on. I'm really excited about playing with colors in my other soaps too. For the pineapple cilantro fragrance that I bought this really pretty like minty lime green and yellow, lemon yellow color. All right. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, perfect. Yummy. All right. Woo-woot. As you can see, now I have two distinctly different colors of pink. All right, so time to add our fragrance oil in. I'm actually going to add all of this, which is, if I'll remind you, is the fragrance oil plus the vanilla color stabilizer. I'm going to add all of this to my white because if it discolors anything, that's what I want it to discolor. So it'll be a little bit more of a cream color. So I'm gonna add that in and I think I'm just gonna whisk this and see. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to stick blend this some more to get it to just a little bit more of a trace. Because I don't think my other two colors are going to, I think they're just gonna blend right in if I pour them in at this light of a trace. Get as much of that pink off as I can. All right, my white is now at about the lightest possible trace I could get it. So I'm gonna just give these a real quick blend. All right, here goes nothing. So here's how a in the pot swirl works. You pour one color at 12 and 6 o'clock and you pour the other color at 3 and 9 o'clock and then you give it one nice swirl around the pot to give it some motion, and then the pattern is actually poured when you pour it into your mold. So I'm actually gonna start with the light color here. My hair and my face. All right. Got half of it over there. Half of it over here. Pour some over here. And you want to pour kind of high up so that it actually does get all the way through down to the bottom of that soap. Pour some more over here. It just dawned on me that this will probably be a really pretty Valentine's soap, and that wasn't really what I was intending, but whatever. And I'm going to save a tiny amount of this to go on the top of the soap as well, just so I can swirl a pretty design into the top. And I don't need much to do that. Okay, let's save the last of that. Now I'm going to take my spatula and I'm just going to cut it right through. Yes, I went more than what I've read you're supposed to, but that's okay. Okay, last thing to do is pour it in our mold. It's the same 10-inch silicone mold you've seen me use several times. I've got it on just a metal baking tray so that I can easily transport this to another room to keep it away from my pets while it's drying. And here's what my soap looks like in the mold, or in the bowl, I should say. And we're just going to pour. Oh, that's really pretty. It's gonna be like a really nice marbled effect. Scrape out everything in this bowl. Look how pretty that is. This recipe definitely stayed nice and fluid for me. And that fragrance, I don't think that accelerated at all. Oh, this is gonna be a beautiful bar. Okay, I'm gonna tap it down a little bit, just to level off. Now that I'm done mixing, I'm gonna take my goggles off so I can see what I'm doing a little better. Okay, so I'm gonna take the last of my little bits of soap, and it is a tiny amount. I do not have much at all. And I'm going to just like run that down the soap. I'm going to do a couple of lines of this one. Okay. Now I'm going to use the handle of my spatula. How do I want to do this? There. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but I think that's really pretty. Tap that down again. Some air bubbles coming to the top. I'm just going to clean up the edges of my mold here. I got a couple of air bubbles coming to the top, and I'm going to use 99% rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to spray this all over the top of it pretty generously. That should pop those air bubbles. Plus it should help prevent soda ash. I got quite a bit of soda ash on my last soap, and I'm not sure what caused that because my previous soaps did not get it. So I'm not sure what I did differently. I mean, it was a different recipe entirely, so who knows, but I'm gonna spray this pretty liberally, hoping I don't get that much soda ash on this one. So this is ready to go into my other room and sit and harden for the next 24 to 48 hours. It is a high percentage soft oil recipe, so I expect that this will take a little bit longer to get hard enough for me to unmold it and cut it for you guys. But we shall see. I will let you know whenever we come back how long I actually had to let it sit in the mold. So we will see you soon. Hey guys, we're back. It is the next day. It actually hasn't even been 24 hours. It's been about 19 hours, but this is probably the hardest bar of soap I have created yet. I checked this after about 5 or 6 hours yesterday, and it was already nice and hard on top, and I was already able to pull it away from the sides. So all in all, this recipe worked like a dream. It stayed really nice and workable so that I could do the swirls. It's hardened up really nice, and I think this bar is probably going to be a lot more nourishing for the skin than the other bars I've created, because even though it has a pretty high percentage of coconut oil, it's also super fatted a little higher. It's got a lot more olive oil in it, and it's got some of that shea butter in there too at a pretty high percentage. So I think this is gonna be a really nice bar of soap, and it smells really, really good too. So I am really excited to get this cut. Let me get this popped out of the mold, and we'll see what it looks like on the inside. So it's still just a tad bit soft on the bottom. That's to be expected since that side's not getting any air. But the top of this and the sides of this are rock hard. Cuts really nice. Ooh, interesting. So my white really did, even though I used that vanilla stabilizer, it looks like it did discolor quite a bit. So it's like a yellowish cream color. I actually kind of like it. I'm thinking now maybe this isn't a Valentine's soap, but maybe it could be an Easter soap because it's very pastel colored. All right, now for the full-size bars. Oh man, that's really pretty. Oh, look at that. Really pretty. I'm really liking that a lot. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that I got any soda ash on the top of this one. That makes me happy. I got a nice good swirl all the way throughout, so I'm very pleased with this one. And since that took such a short amount of time to set up, that means that maybe I can make some more soap today, because now I've got my mold free again. Very nice. Okay, I'm really happy with how this whole recipe turned out. Even with the discoloration of the Cranberry Fizz, I actually like the color that it discolored into, and I like how it looks in the overall bar. The scent is very refreshing. It really stayed true to form through the saponification process. It actually smells a little bit more like fruit punch than like a cranberry soda, I guess, but it still smells like a fizzy, some kind of fruity, very crisp punch, and I like that a lot. That's gonna smell real good in the shower. Very happy with how my in the pot swirl turned out. It looks just like a lot of the ones I was seeing online. I don't think my colors got too muddled. I can still very distinctly see my 3 colors. So that's nice. The top looks good. The recipe worked like a dream. It stayed nice and fluid for me for swirling. It set up really fast, and like I said, I think it's going to be really nice and nourishing. I can't wait to try this one out in the shower. And I also can't wait to use this particular recipe again for some more complex swirl patterns. I think for that pineapple cilantro fragrance I'm going to do, I might do maybe a drop swirl or try a butterfly swirl or something like that. I just need to get a hanger tool crafted up so I can actually try that. Yeah, so I'm really happy with how this turned out. I hope this has been informative. Hope you enjoyed watching me make this bar of soap. If you've got any suggestions for future videos or have any questions or comments about this one, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to post the recipe for this soap on my blog, so be sure and check that out. I'll link that in the description. And I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time on Creative Adventures.